Welcome to the podcast. This is Chris, your host. Thank you for listening to the Christopher Jimenez Show on this Mother's Day edition. This is a special edition. Happy Mother's Day to all my listeners who happen to be mothers out there. I'm broadcasting from Miami, Florida, my kitchen table here with my daughter and my wife. We are having a good old time here on Mother's Day. So if you hear any little cooing or crying or anything like that, that's just a little lady, and we love her, so it's all good. So here we go. We're going to talk today about, first off, about my training, then about the NBA playoffs, then about a different sport, neither running nor NBA, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about what's going up on my Holy Things blog in the coming week. So here we go. About my training, I began a intermediate 10K training plan with Nike Plus this past week, as you probably know from my last podcast. It went well. I believe I kept up about 10 minute, 39 seconds, something like that, pace throughout the week. Some days were easier than others. Some days were harder than others, of course. You can see my actual visual training stats posted. I posted that on Instagram just today, so you can go ahead and check that out either from my Twitter feed or from my Instagram feed. But I don't know what this coming week has in store because guess what? I'm hurt. I've never been hurt before. I've never sprained an ankle, never turned a knee, never hurt my arm, never hurt anything, not even back in my high school days playing volleyball. But I am hurt right now. I made my wife a breakfast this morning. We pulled up our stools, ate at the kitchen counter, and when I propped my foot up against the stool's leg, it was already broken, and it was kind of fragile, and I snapped it again, and I gashed my toe open. My big toe has a huge cut in it, and I didn't think anything of it when I first did it, but then after walking around at church and at a few stores today, I realized that I actually noticed my big toe, and normally when you don't notice your toes when you're walking around, but I noticed it, and we'll see, because when you do that, sometimes you compensate, and when you compensate for the discomfort, you end up hurting yourself. So I really don't want to hurt myself. We have marathon training, goofy training coming up, and I really can't afford to have a setback that's worse than just a little cut on my toe. So if it hurts, I'm going to try to lace it up tomorrow. I'll try to run. If it hurts too bad, or if I feel like I'm thinking too much about it, I'm definitely coming home. I'm definitely not going to finish that run, and I'm going to take some days off because I really can't hurt myself. So that's that. This past week, I discovered that Fitfluential is doing a yoga challenge for the month of May. It's called Namaste in May. Each day, you're supposed to get into a yoga pose, take your picture, and post it on Instagram. So that's what I've been doing this past week, at least for a few days this past week, and I plan to finish out the month of May and follow their program. So far this past week, I've done Warrior 3, Bridge, Triangle, and Half Moon poses. This isn't first of all, I've gotten a lot of feedback with these posts. People didn't realize that I did yoga. Yes, I do yoga. I've been doing it for about a year and maybe a little bit more. I do it for the fitness aspects. I do it to stretch. I find that when I do a yoga session right before running, I loosen up my hips, I loosen up the muscles in my legs, my back, my shoulders are relaxed, my neck. I get into the breathing motion, so I feel like it brings a full body awareness to my run, which is a great thing, I do not have my own yoga practice yet. I'm borrowing, the yoga practices from DVDs and YouTube and such. So, but I am incorporating more and more poses to my yoga practice. For instance, Half Moon. I've never done Half Moon before this past week, and I'm probably going to learn a lot, because coming up in this next week, and if you want to follow along, this next week we're going to be seeing Dancer, Eagle, Horse, Forward Fold, and Crow being my nemesis. I'm definitely going to beat that one up. I'm going to definitely do that one and post it, because that one's a fun post to try and get into and try to master, which I haven't mastered yet. I've gotten into it before, but I haven't mastered it yet, so that's going to be interesting. As far as whether or not these pictures are actually parts of my yoga practice, no, they are not. I'm actually getting into the pose just really for a picture. It's hard to kind of time it, to have my wife take my picture while I'm doing this pose if it's in the middle of a practice. So, no, like I said, I do a YouTube, or I do a DVD, but then I also try and get into this pose as part of practice, as well as getting that picture in for Namaste in May. You can follow me at CJMNZ8, both on Twitter and Instagram, and you'll be able to find that information there and join me. Moving right along, we got NBA playoffs talk. We have the Thunder and the Clippers are tied up at 2-2 in their series. Miami is leading their series 2-1 against Brooklyn. The Pacers are beating Washington Bullets 2-1 in their series, and of course the Spurs are up 3-0 versus the Trailblazers. What is going on with that Spurs-Trailblazers series? I mean, is it the most boring series ever, or what? I mean, nobody's talking about it. It seems like the Spurs are just dominating the Blazers, despite the fact that LaMarcus Aldridge is a man-child. I mean, he's scoring 27 points a game and pulling down 11 boards per game. I mean, if that's not doing his job, I don't know what is. Clearly, the Spurs are just outclassing the Blazers. I expect them in the Western Conference Finals. Thunder and Clippers, probably the best series in the round. They're two completely evenly matched teams. I totally see this as a coin toss. It's exciting for sure. I mean, these games are super exciting, super riveting. I see the Clippers coming out, although I'm just kind of picking that because I feel like they have more of a balance to their team as opposed to the Thunder, which are kind of pretty much just Durant and Westbrook. Not saying that they don't have good pieces. They do have great pieces. I mean, all these teams are pretty good, are really good actually. I see the Clippers. I see the Spurs and Clippers. I see the Spurs beating them and going to the NBA Finals. Indianapolis and Washington, though, I mean, what a difference a week makes. Last week, I got up on this podcast and I felt like a prophet. I mean, I said, look, I see Washington coming up and just really taking the Pacers by surprise and beating them. And come Monday, that's exactly what happened. Come Tuesday, I felt like a prophet, a soothsayer. I knew what I was talking about. I was coming out right. The Washington Wizards were going to come right out and take the series. But obviously, Indiana has turned the things around. Roy Hibbert has turned things around, it appears, and it looks like Indy might go ahead and take the series. In fact, I expect them to take this series and go into the Eastern Conference Finals, where they're going to beat Miami. I mean, Brooklyn, it was a nice story, that they finally got a win, that the old people finally pulled through and got a victory. But I told myself, and I've been saying this whole time, if Brooklyn was going to win a single game in this series, it was going to be Game 3. Going back home, the first game back home, I believe Miami's going to come back with a vengeance. I think they're going to kill it in a five-game series, and they're going to go on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they'll probably go ahead and beat Indy, probably in 6 games. I'm thinking, and meet the Spurs in the in the NBA Finals. My prediction for the Finals, well, I believe these two teams are evenly matched, Miami and San Antonio. I believe it's going to be another coin flip series, kind of like the last year's Finals were a coin flip series, where either team really deserved to win, and both teams played amazingly. It just one team absolutely has to win, but really, last year's Finals, I heard somebody say, I believe it was, I forgot who it was who said it, but basically it was a tie. I mean, it really was a tie. You have to have a winner, so Miami ended up being that winner. But I believe it's going to be another tie series, and I believe Miami's just going to pull it out just because they have the best player on the court in LeBron James. moving right along, our mystery sport. This time I'm going to talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball and the news that hit my Twitter feed last week. Apparently, Major League Baseball is censoring podcasts. Podcasts who are not licensed by Major League Baseball, basically fan sites. So if you're a fan and you want to talk about your team basically on the internet through Apple's podcast service, you're going to get shut down. Now, this is just ridiculous. I mean, these are fans who just want to talk about their teams. They're not trying to make a profit off of Major League Baseball. They're not trying to disparage Major League Baseball. They're actually trying to build up Major League Baseball, trying to get people out into the games or to start just talking about these teams. So why would Major League Baseball want to censor, basically what's free publicity? I don't understand it. I don't get it. I understand if they're trying to watch the game at home and do color commentary or call the game from home so that people listen to them instead of authorized channels, or if they're trying to pull off, as if they were an official radio broadcast or an official stance by Major League Baseball, or if they were trying to profit off of it. But these are just fan sites. I mean, what are they going to try to do? Shut down the internet? They're going to try to shut down blogs? They're going to try to shut down other people's sites, fan sites? This is just ridiculous. I think Apple should take a stance against censorship and allow people to legally publish their podcasts on their site. I mean, what's the big deal? That just blows my mind. I can't believe that they're trying to hush people. On the blog this week, we talk of holythings.com. I have already, let's back up a little bit. Last week I published my first post regarding the passages that have to do with loving the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I posted kind of almost a harmony of these passages within the Synoptic Gospels, as well as Deuteronomy. It's basically a compare and contrast. What's the same? What's different about the scenarios in which this verse is referenced in the Gospels compared to the original? I used several different criterion in order to compose this compare and contrast. Go ahead and check it out. We talk of holythings.com. Leave me a comment. I'd like to expand the discussion. Maybe if you have any suggestions for other ways that they are similar / different, that would be great. And I'll probably start posting a little bit on the heart, what it means to love the Lord with all your heart in this coming week. Well, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Again, remember you can follow me at CJMNZ8, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Check out the blogs, we talk of holythings.com, and go away, readbooks.blogspot.com. Thanks again.